It is 6:30, so we'll begin, and I will ask everyone present to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices and remind council that our procedure by law prescribes the use of technology during council meetings. It is 6:30 p.m. We'll call this council meeting to order, and as we begin this meeting, I acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Anishinaabe. This land holds deep historical, cultural, and spiritual significance for the Mississauga nations, who have been the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters for countless generations. We recognize and honor the enduring connection that the Mississauga and Anishinaabe now of Alderville First Nation maintain with this land and these waters. We express our gratitude for their stewardship and resilience throughout history. As we deliberate on matters that shape our community's future, we commit ourselves to fostering reconciliation, respect, and partnership with Indigenous neighbors and all Indigenous peoples. May our work reflect a shared vision of understanding, collaboration, and inclusivity as we strive to build a just and thriving community for all. And with the approval of the agenda, I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council approve the June 22nd, 2026 Council agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Members of council, have you any declarations of interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. Councillor Butwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on item number 8.2. I am a volunteer and volunteer director with Safe at School Ontario, and therefore I will not be participating in any discussion.
Thank you. And there's a online form that you have to fill out. You're aware of that. Okay, thank you. Any other declarations to note? Thank you all. Any announcements this evening? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was privileged enough to be able to attend the Brian Todd function. I think it was on the 16th. And I just want to give them a huge shout out. It was just a fabulous evening. They shocked a whole bunch of people by giving away way more money than what was originally planned, including Trenton Hospital. They started out by giving them a $25,000 check, which was pretty amazing all by itself, sent them back to their seats, and then called them back up for $75,000 checks. So it was really, really awesome. It was like watching somebody win the lottery. So it was a lot of fun.
Thank you for that. Councillor Rowley.
Just reading from a thank you note I got here, our own Caroline Birch once again participated in the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation ride. The team she rode with raised well over $100,000, which was part of a $23 million fundraiser this year. So congratulations once again to Caroline.
Good announcement. Thank you. Anyone else? I have a few. Wednesday, June 10th, I was fortunate to be able to attend the Loyalist College Convocation celebrations, where they bring all of the honorary certificate bearers and the what do you call it when you get to speak in front of people at grad? You are the and all of the valedictorians. Thank you. All as a council together. That was always an interesting night. Always interesting people around the room. That following Saturday was the Cadet Corps' annual review, and I was fortunate enough to be able to attend that and hand out a prize to one of our budding youth. And that same day was Pop-Up Pride. I was happy to be able to open Pop-Up Pride in Memorial Park, followed by Sunday's Pride Day. Oh, and at Pop-Up Pride, it was mentioned that we should, as a council, declare that weekend Pride Weekend, because we always have Pop-Up Pride, and then the church always does Pride, the Pride Walk and Pride Service. I just did it. I just declared it Pride Weekend in the municipality of Brighton. I didn't think I'd get any pushback from you, my friends on council. So off we went. So following that on Sunday, I was able to attend the Trinity St. Andrews Pride Walk and Pride Service, normally held in Memorial Park, but the weather forced it into the church for the service. The walk, we still did the walk around the community. On June 18th, we held, the municipality Parks and Rec team held a watch party for the Canadian game, which they won 6-0 against Qatar. And I was happy to be able to start that with a mayor's challenge. I guess all the mayors were challenged to kick a soccer ball. I got 9 whopping points. I don't know whether that means I'm good or bad or indifferent, but we'll find out. We'll find out just what 9 points gets me. And then I headed off to a United Way fundraiser in Coburg. And this week, all 4 of our schools, of course, will be holding graduations. So we wish all of the graduates in our community well for their futures, be that heading off to high school or to university or into the working world, whatever it is they end up doing. We wish them extremely well as they move forward. Any other announcements this evening? Moving into the adoption of the minutes, I have a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that Council adopt the following council meeting minutes as presented. Special council meeting, May 27th, 2026. Regular council meeting, June 1st, 2026. Council planning meeting, June 15th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. We have no statutory public meeting this evening. That brings us into delegations and presentations. Council will hear 2 presentations this evening. Presenters have 15 minutes to provide council with their information. It is noted that language, content, and conduct must always remain respectful. Council will be provided with an opportunity to ask questions for clarification from the presentation representatives. Based on the information they have presented, council is reminded that this is not an opportunity to engage in debate with the presenters nor advance a public policy position. Presenters are reminded that council does not make decisions during the presentation portion of this evening's meeting. Our first presentation comes from Kim Good from the Northumberland Humane Society. Kim. Push the silver button. There you go. You're good now.
Okay, well, good evening. We're delighted to be here. Some of you may remember me from the Bridge Hospice Foundation and when I worked with Craig Kerr. So it's really nice to see your faces again and to be in chamber. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity of being here today. I'm Kim Good. I'm the Capital Campaign Director for the Northumberland. Where am I from?
The Humane Society.
And this is Wendy Riley. She's the Animal Care Director for the same place. You can flip, thank you. We're here to share how the Northumberland Humane Society serves animals, people, and people across Northumberland County and our vision for the future animal welfare in the community. Many people know the Humane Society through pet adoptions or stray animals, but today we'd like to share a broader story. NHS has evolved into a community resource that supports both animals and people. As demand continues to grow, we are planning for the future so we can continue meeting those needs for decades to come. Slide. When people think about an animal shelter, they often think about the adoptions, the puppies and the kittens, and the happy endings. And those moments are absolutely part of what we do, but that is only part of the story. Every day, our staff and volunteers care for animals that arrive frightened, injured, neglected, abandoned, and sometimes fighting for their lives. They are also supporting the people connected to those animals, families experiencing illness, financial hardship, housing instability, and loss or personal crisis. This work can be emotionally demanding. Compassion fatigue, caregiver burnout, and the weight of making difficult decisions are the realities of animal welfare work. And yet, despite all of that, our team shows up every day with professionalism, resilience, and extraordinary compassion. That is why we often say that welfare workers are frontline caregivers, just in a different kind of healthcare environment.
Last year alone, the NHS supported more than 1,200 animals across Northumberland County. We helped 619 animals find loving homes. We reunited 214 animals with their families, and we supported hundreds of animals through our pet food bank and our compassion care programs. And we assisted more than 150 volunteers that have dedicated to the NHS. Today, we serve a community of more than 89,000 residents NHS is much more than a shelter. It's an essential community resource. Our impact extends far beyond animal sheltering and adoption programs, such as our pet food bank, our pet aid, compassionate care, humane education, and volunteer engagement help strengthen the bond between people and their pets. For many people, pets are family. By helping people care for the animals they love, we are also helping to build a healthier and more compassionate community.
One of the questions we are asked most often is, how is the Humane Society funded? The answer surprises many people. NHS receives no ongoing municipal, provincial, or federal operating funding. Every animal sheltered, every family supported, and every program delivered is made possible through the generosity of donors, volunteers, businesses, foundations, and community partners. Through careful financial planning and responsible stewardship, the Northumberland Humane Society will launch the Built on Second Chances campaign with a $1 million contribution towards the project. We believe it is important to invest in our own future and to demonstrate our confidence in the vision we are sharing with our community.
While our programs and services have significantly grown, our facility has not. The shelter we operate today was never designed for the level of care, the volume of animals, or the range of services we now provide. The challenge before us is simple. Demand has outgrown our space. This building was originally built as a municipal pound almost 30 years ago. Today it functions as a full-service humane society. We have adapted the space in every way possible, and I do mean every way possible. But the reality is that the facility limits our ability to provide the level of care our community expects and our animals deserve. Animal welfare is often viewed as optional. In reality, it's an essential community service. It supports public safety, community well-being, and vulnerable residents whose pets provide comfort, stability, and companionship. In many ways, our work sits alongside other community systems, simply through the lens of animal care. That is why we believe animal welfare is community welfare. Angel's story reminds us why this work matters. She was found abandoned on the side of a road, blind, frightened, confused, and alone. When she arrived at the Northumberland Humane Society, we knew almost nothing about her past, but we could see the signs of serious neglect. Her ears showed effects of years of untreated chronic ear infections. Her nails were painfully overgrown into her paw pads. She was suffering from painful skin infections and had some severe signature puncture wounds on her hindquarters. She was vulnerable, disoriented, and in urgent need of care. What we did know is that someone had house-trained her. Someone had loved her at some point. She was not just another stray dog. She had a family, a history, and a life before arriving at our doors. Then something remarkable happened. Through a local Facebook group, we learned her name might be Angel. We went to her kennel and called out Angel. She lifted her head, raised her nose into the air, and began wagging her tail. It was a small moment, but one we'll never forget. In that instant, Angel reminded us that every animal who comes through our doors has a story we will never fully know. Over the weeks that followed, our staff and volunteers cared for Angel, earned her trust, and helped her rediscover safety. And then Angel found her second chance. Today, she's living her best life with a family experienced in caring for blind dogs, a family that saw the remarkable dog she had always been. Angel's story has a happy ending, but every day animals arrive at our doors with stories we have not yet heard and trauma we have not yet understood. Every one of them deserves the opportunity to heal, to be loved, and to find their way home. That is why this work matters, and that is why creating a humane environment for care is so important.
This is not a campaign about expanding a building. It's a campaign to create a humane environment where animals can heal, caregivers can thrive, and compassion has room to grow. This rendering represents the future. A purpose-built facility designed around animal well-being, accessibility, and community service.
Every element of this design has been created with outcomes in mind, reducing stress, improving health, supporting staff and volunteers, and creating a welcoming environment for everyone who comes through our doors. This project is about more than creating additional space. It will allow us to serve more animals, support more families, and expand programs that strengthen the bond between people and their pets. Create a healthier environment for animals, a better workplace for staff and volunteers, and a stronger foundation for future services. Most importantly, it will help ensure that everyone who comes through our doors has the opportunity for a second chance. To achieve that vision, the project has been designed in 3 phases. Phase 1 focuses on a new 6,200 square foot expansion designed around accessibility, animal well-being, and community service. Phase 2 transforms the existing building into a space for enrichment, education, volunteer and staff wellness, and expanded community programs. Phase 3 looks toward the future with low-cost veterinary services, including spay and neuter, preventative care, and expanded access to veterinary support. Not simply a larger shelter. At its heart, this project is about creating a community care center, a place designed to support frontline caregivers who provide comfort, treatment, rehabilitation, and hope every day. A place where human design reduces stress, improves health, and promotes well-being for animals, staff, volunteers, and visitors alike. A place where vulnerable residents can access support and keep the pets that are often their greatest source of companionship and emotional connection. And a place where animal welfare is recognized for what it truly is, an essential part of a healthy, compassionate community. This project is not just about building space, it's about building capacity to care.
Nope. Sorry, thank you. Angel received her second chance and found her way home. And every community deserves a place where more animals can receive the same compassionate care. A place where animals are safe. A place where families find support. A place where compassion has room to grow. A place built on second chances. For 60 years, the Northumberland Humane Society has evolved to meet the changing needs of animals and the people who care for them. Today, we have an opportunity to create a modern, accessible, and compassionate center of care that will serve our community for decades to come. We're not here asking for funding. We're here because the residents of Brighton are part of the community we serve every day. And we believe that it's important that the council understands the programs and services and support available to the people and animals who call Brighton home. Because animal welfare is community welfare. I'd like to thank you for your leadership and your partnership and the opportunity to share our vision today. Together, we can build a future where compassion and room to grow for more animals to find their way home. And with that, we are pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you both very much. Ms. Riley, I missed your first name. I'm sorry.
Wendy.
Thank you. I wrote Wendy down. That's my mom's name. So I should have caught it, but I wasn't quite sure if I wrote it down correctly. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Good. Thank you, Ms. Riley. Questions of clarification for members of council? It's amazing to me, for those of us who have and love animals, to see the kind of things that you must see on a daily, hourly basis. My comment to one of the puppies in our house is, listen here, you little brat, you live a better life than most people on earth.
That's right.
And she still gives me attitude, weirdly enough. I think there are several people around this table who love and spoil their animals beyond recognition, quite frankly. I know Councillor Wright does. We see her posts on Facebook with regard to her 3 spoiled brats. So thank you very much. It is appreciated.
I would just like to offer that most of you do know me from hospice. And I've said this to Wendy, but I have to say the compassion fatigue at a humane shelter is far greater than at hospice. The decisions that are made every day are serious. The animals that come in, the conditions they come in, how some are surrendered or abandoned. It's hard to, I didn't realize how emotional it would be until I got there. And I'm I guess, just over 4 months in now. And I have to say that the people that work there every day and care for these animals every day are really special people, because when you go home at night, you just really want to cry. And Angel's story was such a wonderful reminder for us. And I did foster her for a couple of weekends. And Wendy let me work through the process till I realized that I worked all day and I couldn't care for a blind older animal. But I really desperately wanted to do that. But the good news is she did find a really, really lovely place to land. So I just really wanted to wrap up and say, from a different perspective, for somebody who comes from hospice into animal shelters, it's a pretty awesome place to spend some time.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for everything you do. Angel's story.
Yeah, I know. Don't
know,
get me going.
I know. My three come down, they all three have allergies, and I spend a fortune on proper food and all the things for them. And I can't imagine what that poor dog went through. So thank you very, very much for being the place that she could land.
Thank you. There's lots of love in that space for sure. And some grief.
Thank you both.
But thank you very much for
Thank you.
the time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley and seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Rowley, this says to receive the presentation from Kim Good. I'd like to add Wendy Riley to that as well, if that's okay with you, Councillor Wright. So it's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the presentation from Kim Good and Wendy Riley, Northumberland Humane Society. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next presentation comes from Amy McQuaid, presentation regarding Ontario's ongoing review of PPM 161, framework supporting students with medical conditions with a focus on epilepsy and school safety. Ms. McQuaid, thank you for joining us. I'm conscious of the fact that you have put your name in to run for school board trustee, and I just want to make sure. Yeah,
Thank you for mentioning it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to.
Just want to make sure. That's good. I just want to make sure that you're aware that our corporate resource policy,
Completely aware.
Okay.
I read all your
then
policies.
off you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Ostrander, members of council, municipal staff, and members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Amy McQuaid. I'm a parent, community advocate, and founder of Safe at School Ontario, a grassroots parent-led initiative that began right here in Brighton. We are dedicated to improving safety and support for children living with uncontrolled epilepsy in Ontario schools. Before I begin, I'd like to recognize Councillor Ann Butwell, who is a dedicated volunteer with Safe at School Ontario, and also Councillor Wright, who I know has already commented on this important issue and submitted comments. We're grateful for their commitment to supporting safer schools in Ontario, and we thank them for being here this evening. Tonight, I'm here to speak about proposed updates to Policy Memorandum PPM 161. The opportunity these changes present that will strengthen supports for students living with epilepsy. So before I discuss PPM 161, I'd like to share briefly a little bit about why we ended up here. Our work was inspired by my son, Charlie, who is 6 years old and has uncontrolled epilepsy. For the last 2 years, we have been advocating within the school system to ensure that he could be safe at school. In September, his supports were taken away. He missed 38 days of school until we were able to get those supports back. In December, his supports were then taken away again, and he missed 87 days of school while we worked towards getting those supports back. During that time, as most of you know, I read a lot and I ask a lot of questions, and I realized that there was a gap in policy that needed to be changed at the province. But like many parents, we assumed that there would be clear, consistent supports in place to ensure our child's safety at school. Our experience highlighted how differently supports can be interpreted and implemented, even with significant medical risk. What started as our family's search for safer school supports has grown into a province-wide advocacy initiative, connecting families, healthcare professionals, educators, and advocacy organizations with one goal: to change PPM 161. Why this consultation matters. School safety is a community issue. While PPM 161 is an educational policies, its impacts extend far beyond the classroom. It affects children's families and communities across Ontario, especially when families cannot work because the policies do not work for their children to be in school. Students with epilepsy face unique risk, particularly when seizures are frequent, unpredictable, or medically complex. Public consultation provides an opportunity for families, healthcare professionals, educators, community leaders like yourself, and residents from the public to shape stronger protections for medically vulnerable students across Ontario. That's why this consultation matters. Next slide, please. Approximately 1 in 100 Canadians live with epilepsy. For some students, these seizures can be subtle, like my son's, where he could be in a busy classroom and you wouldn't know he was having a seizure unless you had direct contact with him. He is unable to speak. He loses his ability to communicate, and it doesn't make those seizures any less serious. School staff play an important critical role in recognizing and responding to seizures, and appropriate planning and supports can be significant in improving both safety and inclusion. Students with complex medical needs need to be able to attend school every day because school in Ontario is a right. Our involvement in this work began through our family's experience, but what we learned was that behind every policy is a child that needs support. Next slide, please. PPM 161, for those of you that are unaware, is a policy framework supporting students with medical conditions. It actually covers things like epilepsy, diabetes, asthma, and anaphylaxis. While I'm only here to speak about epilepsy, there are organizations like Diabetes Canada and other organizations that are dealing directly with changes to their particular medical illness or medical condition. This policy develops how schools develop plans of care. These plans of care are basically the way in which we interact every day with our staff and the students, and ensuring that when there's a seizure, they know how to respond, what to look for seizures, and ensuring that there's communication between staff and students so that students can be safe. Right now, it's currently under provincial review, and that public consultation remains open until July 12th, 2026. Since December, as part of Safe at School Ontario, we've worked alongside many people to make this consultation happen, including working directly with the ministry representatives to help strengthen this policy and protections for students living with epilepsy. Next slide, please. We participated in the first round of consultations with the ministry prior to the public consultation. We were encouraged to see many of the priorities that we advocated for were reflected in the proposed updates. These changes also reflect the voices of many more people across many more sectors, and it's not just our accomplishment to talk about. Among the improvements, we are pleased to see that there are standardized plans of care, which there weren't. So across Ontario, many schools were doing different plans of care. Nobody was using the same plans of care, which is completely unacceptable when you're dealing with complex medical conditions. We also were asking for stronger communication requirements, improved emergency preparedness, recognition of SUDEP risk assessments, and stronger language that replace should with must in key sections of the policy. And as you are aware as council members, there's a big difference between a should policy and a must policy. So we are very happy that the province is moving to must. We want to acknowledge the minister and the Ministry of Education for listening to families and stakeholders and for taking the important steps towards improving safety for students with prevalent medical conditions. Next slide, please. For those of you that are unaware, one of the most important improvements that we were asking from the ministry is a SUDEP risk factor. SUDEP stands for sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. This is one of the most serious risks associated with epilepsy, and most people are unaware of it. While not every person living with epilepsy faces the same level of risk, risk factors are important when developing student plans of care. Healthcare providers routinely assess risk factors when developing treatment plans, and it's important that those same risk factors are considered when developing school-based plans of care. Recognizing these risks help ensure that safety planning is individualized and response is for each individual student. Next slide, please. While we support the proposed changes and are encouraged by the progress reflected in the draft policy, there's still an opportunity as always, to strengthen protections further. One of the areas we as Safe at School Ontario continue to advocate for is clearer guidance around direct line of sight support for students who experience high risk, unpredictable seizures when such support is clinically appropriate and recommended. We recognize that every student's needs are different. However, when healthcare providers are identifying elevated risk to SUDEP and elevated risk in general, schools should have clear guidance available to them to support appropriate supervision and safety planning. We also believe there's room for stronger accountability measures and greater consistency in implementation across Ontario. Because even the strongest policy can only protect children when it's applied consistently and effectively. The tragedy of Landon Ferris, who died 2 years ago in Trenton, is a heartbreaking reminder of the gaps in safety planning and policy implementation when it can have devastating consequences. No family should experience preventable loss because protections are inconsistent, unclear, or difficult to enforce. Public feedback can still shape the final policy. Next slide, please. We created an action guide. The consultation process can feel overwhelming to some, and some don't know how they can get involved. To help make participation more accessible, Safe at School Ontario created a free action guide and toolkit to help you participate and comment on the current proposed changes to PPM 161. The guide outlines the proposed changes, explains key epilepsy-specific consideration, highlights remaining policy priorities, and provides information on how to submit meaningful feedback. Our goal is not to tell people what to think. Our goal is to ensure people understand the proposed changes and feel empowered to participate in the consultation process, because every voice in Ontario matters. Next slide, please. The public consultation remains open until July 12th, 2026. We encourage you as councillors, municipal leaders, families, healthcare professionals, educators, and community organizers and residents across Brighton, Northumberland County, and beyond to participate and share your perspective. Municipal governments are trusted voices within our community, and by helping us be here tonight to raise awareness and encourage participation, you help play an important role in ensuring families have an opportunity to be heard. This evening, we respectfully ask that Council help raise awareness of the consultation, encourage community participation, and support efforts to strengthen those protections, whether those be individually or as a whole as Council, whatever you might decide. The action guide can be downloaded at safeatschoolontario.ca. Next slide, please. Safe at School Ontario was founded on one simple belief: every child deserves to be safe at school. We are hopeful that these proposed changes will help turn that principle into consistent practices across Ontario and ensure students living with epilepsy, like my son Charlie, will be safer, better supported, and be able to participate fully in their education. We want to thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to supporting children and families in our communities and allowing us to speak tonight. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. McQuaid. Questions from members of council? Councilor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think the one thing that stood out to me, I wondered how many children do you know are impacted by this, possibly here in Brighton and across Ontario as a whole?
So we've been introduced and have spoken to a number of families within Brighton and across Ontario. We know that there are hundreds of students that deal with this every day. Currently in Ottawa, they took away, the Catholic School Board took away supports for busing, and some of those kids have uncontrolled epilepsy. One of the things that the province is proposing changes for is to ensure that the plans of care go onto the busing system, which it doesn't currently happen now, which means Charlie can't take the bus. So this will help other parents. We don't have an exact number, but what we do know is 1 in 100 Canadians are affected by epilepsy, and everyone knows somebody who has epilepsy or somebody who loves somebody who has epilepsy. And so we just want to ensure that what started in Brighton actually helps change provincial policy across Ontario.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Good presentation, Amy. Just wondering, are you going to share it with the other municipalities in the county?
Well, I will see because it's the end of June and most of the council meetings are done. We did do a presentation on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, to the school board for trustees and that, and we have sent it out to some individual council members who are going to do something. But we wanted to focus here in Brighton, one, because Anne's a volunteer, I live here, and Charlie lives here, but also because we know that this council gets involved in things, and we wanted to make sure that the information was spread as possible.
Thank you both. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that Council receive the presentation from Amy McQuaid regarding Ontario's ongoing review of PPM 161, the policy framework supporting students with medical conditions in schools with a focus on epilepsy and school safety. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? That motion is carried. Go ahead.
As per Amy's request, at some point, will this come back on a council agenda as far as that we would send a letter of support or anything, or should we?
We could have added it to the motion.
Can you add it to the motion?
We could, now we voted on it, but we can make a new motion.
Okay.
What would you like that to read?
Well, you're good with the words.
We all speak the same language.
What's that?
Go ahead.
I got that. Just maybe that, I don't know, do we ask staff just to kind of draft some kind of motion for an upcoming meeting that we could share with other municipalities, blah, 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 and send it up the line? You know what I mean?
I do. I would suggest you bring that forward as a notice of motion.
Right, I'll do
I
that
think that
then
would be the best
instead.
way to go. Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go there. Rather, I don't think staff. Well, someone could draft a notice of motion and we could make it urgent enough that we would pass it then on July 20, whatever it is, 8th, 27th. So if you bring that notice of motion forward as soon as possible, and then remind us all that we want it to be a bit urgent because of the ticking clock of lame duck. Yeah, we only have 2 more meetings before we go into lame duck. Go ahead, Councillor Wright.
The link is in the paperwork, so you can go in and submit individual comments. It's super easy. You can do it as a guest. You can sign up for an account for ontario.ca, but it's really quite easy to go in and add your comments.
CAO.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the line was July the 12th for comments. So I just maybe individual council members might want to go ahead and do.
12th. Yeah. Be too late for a notice of motion, but July 12th. So, if all 7 of us click this link and make our comment to the registry, I think it'll go where it needs to go. I don't know. I don't imagine that anyone around this horseshoe would not be supportive of the information we received today. Go. You can't speak, but Ms. McQuaid has her hand up, and
Also, if you could share it on your social media channels, that would be very helpful.
very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. That brings us to citizens' comment. I have received a citizens' comment, but it is not with regard to anything on tonight's agenda, which is procedurally appropriate. But I would ask council, are we willing to hear the citizens' comment? It is with regard to how we receive resolutions at council, and it's unlikely that that would ever be on an agenda. So if it's okay with everyone, we'll allow the citizens' comment, and I'll ask Mr. Smith to please come forward and provide us with his comment. Or I can read it for you if that's what you prefer. Okay, you just click your button there. And so this comment comes from Dave Smith. The comment to be made regarding practice of moving and seconding resolutions before the meeting begins, i.e. outside of the meeting, outside of the public view. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Believe me, I come in peace tonight. And as a newcomer to Brighton a number of years back, I began monitoring council meetings and found that became curious as to how business was transacted at council. And the mayor would sit and say, I have a motion from, seconded by so-and-so. Well, it was only, and then I had looked and I said, did I miss something? Did I miss something, somebody making a motion? Nope, I hadn't. Well, it was only of late that I got around to asking the question as to how this worked. And so I found out. And what I found is that these motions are in effect made, resolutions are moved and seconded before the meeting ever begins, in effect. So that left me questioning. First of all, the questions as to the propriety of that. I mean, Robert's rules don't contemplate any such thing, I guess. They contemplate motions being made, and they contemplate movers speaking to motions, and then they contemplate there being debate. Well, the way the town does it, though, it's all pre-cooked before the meeting ever takes place. And I don't think that's consistent in any way, shape, or form with the town's policies, for instance, on accountability, transparency, et cetera, open government. The business of a municipality surely is something that should take place in an open forum. This is not a corporate board for a private industry, private company. It's a municipal government. And as a general rule, municipal business is to be done in the open, accessible and readily transparent to the public. And there are reasons for that. Because the duty of this council falls both to the the corporate body of the municipality, but it also lies, the duty is to the residents. And we have a very elaborate structure under the Municipal Act.
I'll let you know you have 2 minutes and your 2 minutes are up. So if you can wrap it up.
Put up by saying that, let me leave you with this thought as a something for a possible area for improvement. Improving making good on the policies of the municipality for accountability, transparency, et cetera, and involvement of the citizenry. How can the citizenry be in any way involved through even attending these meetings if the business of the municipality really isn't being done at these meetings? That's the end of my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Under the rules of procedure, I do not make comment on citizens' comments, so I thank you for your comment today. Thank you.
Thank you.
A motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council receive the citizens' comments submitted at the June 22nd, 2026 council meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Brings us to staff reports. Our first report is with regard to the Drinking Water Quality Management System Operational Plan. Director Lennon, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, nothing to add.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council received the staff report regarding the updates to the Drinking Water Management System Operational Plan, and the council endorsed the cumulative changes to the Drinking Water Management System Operational Plan. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to the appointment to the Brighton Landfill Liaison Committee. Madam Clerk, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council appoint Mr. Byron McBride as the member of the public residing within the municipality of Brighton to the Brighton Landfill Liaison Committee for the remainder of the current term. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wondering how many members of the public are on this. I believe that you yourself and Councillor Wielden are on this
And Councillor Wright.
for. Councillor Wright also?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have Mr. McBride and Mr. Opstein.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
It's not an open forum, Deb. If you didn't fill out the paperwork, we wouldn't have known you had a citizen's comment. So you have to fill out the comment. If you can form it in the way of a question at the end of the meeting, we can take your question during question period. Okay? Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could we waive the rules on this one?
Council can do whatever it wishes.
So would council consider?
Hang on, we have a motion on the floor. Let me
Sure,
deal with this motion and then I'll turn the floor over to you, Councillor Butwell. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Councillor Butwell.
So Mr. Mayor, I would suggest and make motion that council waives the rules in this case. I think we're accustomed to skipping on and perhaps if Ms. Perry might fill out the comment form after the fact or during. I just need a seconder on that. I'm very chuffed that we have multiple people making comment. We don't usually get
Usually have zero.
speaking.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor Wright, that council waive the rules of procedure to permit a citizen's comment from Debbie Perry. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Ms. Perry. Welcome. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. I just wanted to make a brief comment about the presentation from Northumberland Humane Society. A lot of residents of Brighton were under the impression that the Belleville Humane Society was taking animals from Brighton, and it's not. So the numbers that go into Northumberland Humane Society are incredible. I work very closely with them, and the most heartbreaking thing to see from them is a post saying we are close to intakes, and that happens fairly frequently. So anything the council can do to support them, I'm right there with you. My second comment is to Amy McQuaid. I worked in the school system for many, many years, and having epilepsy was not disclosed a lot of times by children and by parents, and we were unaware of it in the education system and had some what could have been horrific events because it wasn't mainstream, it wasn't talked about. And when a child has an epileptic seizure and you have no information on that child and there's no education given out to teachers and other students, it's a terrifying experience. So I think that this is a wonderful proposal, and the more education that can go out there, the better it is for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, no rebuttal or comments are made with regard to citizens' comment. I note that council has already received the citizens' comment through formal motion, so we'll just carry on with staff reports. Next report is with regard to town hall meeting policy. Madam Clerk, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you, Mayor. Not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council received the staff report CLK 2026-70 regarding town hall meeting policy, and that council approved the council community engagement forums policy as attached. Is there any discussion? Councillor Butwell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to our clerk, Mr. Doiron. I see on the third page.
Councillor Butwell, could you draw the microphone closer to your talking?
Is that better?
That is better.
Feel like I'm eating it. So on page 3 of the report, second point down, implementation will occur in the next term of council and will be subject to staff capacity and completion of current priority workloads. Could you please elaborate on how that staff capacity and completion of current priority workloads will work?
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Butwell, it just means we'll work with council to make it work to happen. It'll just be scheduled around council and staff workloads. That's all.
So just as a follow-up, that does not mean that staff has the ultimate say in
No.
whether it happens or not, or when it, okay.
No.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. Next report is with regard to amendments to the 2026 council meeting schedule. Madam Clerk, we've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Thank you. And this is just a follow-up from when I did a poll to make sure that council was okay with us moving the schedule around, and then we just had to make it public. That's all.
Thank you for that. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The council approved the proposed amendments to the 2026 council meeting schedule as follows: that council planning meeting currently scheduled for August 24th, 2026 be rescheduled to August 20th, 2026. And that council meeting scheduled for September 8th, 2026, and the council planning meeting scheduled for September 14th, 2026, be consolidated into one meeting to be held on September 8th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is with regard to the OPG Wesleyville project, CAO. We've read this report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not at this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council directs staff to continue to monitor how the requirements of a rigorous and transparent assessment of need and alternatives are addressed as the process advances. And the council directs staff to continue to encourage strong engagement and promote awareness of participation opportunities for Brighton residents. And the council directs staff to continue to assert Brighton's role as an affected municipality, advocate for a regional approach to impact assessment and mitigation, and support Northumberland County and collaborate with neighboring municipalities to address shared interests. By way of information for council, I requested during an OPG delegation at county council that the county be listed formally as a co-host. We recognize Port Hope is the host. We know that to be true, but it would be good to be formally recognized as the co-host for the county, understanding that this will have greater effect than just in Port Hope. In fact, I would suggest it would have bigger effect from a residential land use planning perspective in Cobourg, given that it's the largest urban municipality. But even we're going to see the effects here in Brighton and Crammy Township and Trent Hills, because not everybody wants to live 10 minutes away from work. Some people want to be able to drive in a half hour away, or maybe even take a bus one day. Imagine that. We dream in Technicolor. Anyway, that's just by way of information. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is a CAO ongoing report, capital projects update, CAO. Anything to add or highlight?
No, Mr. Mayor, not this time.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the CAO ongoing report and capital projects update. Is there any discussion? Councillor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. Some of the line items under the status column are blank. Is that just because we will look at them at another point? I'll take, for example, page 5 of 10, starting with server lease payments and then dealing with fire department. I think there's a few more following as well, but just wondering, we don't have a decision or a timeline as to when these will be considered.
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Rowley, the senior manager in that department just updates those as happens. So if nothing has occurred in 2026, chances are that there's no update. And once work done on it, they will can update it. I will remind them tomorrow, our senior management team, to go through the list and ensure that it's up to the next council meeting.
Thank you both. Any further discussion? Councillor Boutwell, thank you.
Just a quick question through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CAO. So my little questions about the tennis club and pickleball club agreements. When it's been updated summer 2026, is that when we updated it, or is that when it is expected to be completed?
CAO?
Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Butwell, that is when it's anticipated to come back to council.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you both. Anyone else? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. There are no notices of motion, nor any motions. There's no unfinished business listed. There is nothing listed under reports and minutes of advisory committees of council and review teams. That moves us into reports and minutes of statutory committees, boards, and external agencies. The first comes from the Lakelands Public Health Board meeting, and we are represented there by county councillors Hankifsky and Logel from Port Hope and Alma-Calderman. The motion is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell. The council received the Lakelands Public Health Board meeting summary, May 20th, 2026 as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion's carried. The next item comes from the Lower Trent Conservation Board of Directors, Councillors Wielden and Wright. Anything to highlight on that for us? Go ahead, Councillor Wielden.
Thank you, Mayor. It has already been communicated to staff, but we are currently down on staff at Lower Trent, and it is affecting timelines.
No doubt. Thank you. Anything further? The motion is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the Lower Trent Conservation Board of Directors May 14th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Discussion from members of council. All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. And the Brighton and District Curling Club, Councillor Rowley as our representative. Anything to note? I have a motion moved by Councillor Wielden, seconded by Councillor McCausland, that council receive the Brighton and District Curling Club April 27th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. That brings us to correspondence, direction items, endorsements, communications, and petitions. The first comes from Clearview Township with a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley, that council support the resolution from Clearview Township regarding vacant commercial storefront tax. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wielden.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Clearview supporting a motion from Prince Edward County. So a little bit closer to home. Early in the term, when I was brand new and more idealistic even than I am now.
Imagine that.
I was thinking about the number of vacancies in commercial units in town. And I had heard that it was common in some places to, formerly at least, to have policies that would actually give people a break on taxes if their unit was vacant. And the idea there was to support a landlord as a local business person, and if their unit is vacant, then it must mean that they're struggling because they're not getting rent, and so we'll give them a break on taxes. And in fact, what happens in commercial real estate is that it is sometimes more profitable for someone to leave their unit empty and speculate and wait for property taxes to rise and get a better rent later. And so because of that, now there's this push to actually have a tax on vacant units, with the recognition that there are probably people who would love to be running a business out of that shop if they could afford the rent on it. And so if we're working to make rents of all kinds come down as much as we can so that life becomes more affordable for Ontarians, it would make sense that we would be able to provide that kind of incentive for lower rents in our commercial areas as well. But I was also surprised early in the term, when I was even more idealistic, to learn that we did not have control over that. And so I would love to support this petitioning the province to give us that kind of control.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was also more idealistic at the beginning of all this as well. And I do recall the beginning of our term, there were, I think, about 3 spots that were open in the downtown core. And I had people coming to me to ask if I knew who owned the building, because they were trying to reach the number and were getting nowhere. So there wasn't a lot of incentive for that Toronto-based investor owning the building, it seemed, to have timely responses to people who potentially wanted to use the space. So I think if there's something that we can support to help keep those spaces full and the downtown vibrant, the better off we all are.
Thank you for that. I mean, generally in Brighton, we've been pretty fortunate to have almost full occupancy most of the time. Some concerning times during the pandemic, of course, but and some concerning landlord behavior during the pandemic as well. But we don't need to talk about that tonight. Councillor Butwell.
Just to follow up to my colleagues, again, I absolutely support this. I just wanted to maybe just highlight for Councillor Wright that not all of the owners of these buildings are Toronto owners. And I know that you know that, but I just would not want to appear to be painting all with the same brush. And just because one's from Toronto does not mean they're a bad person. Because I'm from there originally. So yeah, so we have lots of local owners who are shielded by corporate titles as well as Toronto people.
Noted. Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next piece of correspondence comes from the town of South Bruce Peninsula. It's moved by Councillor Butwell and seconded by Councillor McCausland. And I'll need to know if we're receiving or supporting the resolution from the town of South Bruce Peninsula regarding affirming outdoor education as an essential part of public education in Ontario. Councillor Butwell is the mover.
Absolutely affirming.
You okay with that, Councillor McCausland? So I've circled support. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next piece of correspondence comes from the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that council receive or support request from Lower Trent Conservation Authority Chair of the Lower Trent Source Protection Authority regarding limited liability for road salt application. Councillor McCausland, are we receiving or supporting? Councillor Butwell, you okay with that?
Yeah, I suppose so. It sometimes would be nice to have certain people here to answer some questions, but yeah, would support.
Well, I think there are certain people here who could answer questions with regard to the application of salt. Dr. Linden, do you have a comment on this? I don't think it applies to, I think it's
Private contractors.
contractors that they're
right?
talking about, but do you want to speak to the application of salt on municipal roadways?
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I can provide my understanding of this. A lot of private contractors perform winter maintenance on private parking lots and a lot of municipal parking lots in other jurisdictions. And it's my experience that they often have high insurance rates because of the chances for slip and falls. So they tend to oversalt for that reason. And I think the intent here is to manage the risk versus the salt application. My understanding from reading the document is that it does not apply to the municipality. We have joint and several liability that dictates how we manage risk at the municipal level. But I think ultimately that's what that is, to control the amount of salt versus the insurance risk for private contractors.
Mr. McCausland?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. So I was just going to ask a question for clarification. So then do we just need to receive it? We don't really need to support it?
Entirely up to you as the mover at this stage, whether we support it or receive it. This has only an effect on private contractors. Well, it has no effect on anyone unless the province goes down this road, but would only have an effect on private contractors, or would only apply to private contractors if new regulations were put into place by the minister. Councillor Butwell?
So as the seconder of this one, when it came across my desk, I wasn't sure where you were coming from with, and I, yeah, so I get it. My concern is that if we have private business owners who are, I mean, my clearing costs went from $1,200 to $5,000 for a 3.5, 4 months winter contract simply because of the insurance. I can only imagine that if they were to be limited in what they can put down, they might have to come twice as many times for multiple applications. I think the salt would hit the ground anyways, if they just drive off the lot and come back on. I understand the environmental impact of it, but I am concerned with the increased liability it puts on our business community.
So this particular letter asks the province to limit the liability, very specifically, limit the liability on private contractors for when they apply salt, so they don't have to apply as much. That's the purpose of this.
No, okay.
Yeah. So in theory, if that happened, their insurance rates would come down and your cost of doing business would come down, in theory.
In theory, if they are applying X amount, which is over and above maybe what the province would like them to, it's because they're concerned about liability. If they reduce it to the minimum standard, that actually increases their liability. Or it increases liability somewhere because
I understand what you're saying. This letter asks the minister to introduce legislation that would limit the liability for contractors.
the contractor, but then it pushes it onto the business owner. It has to.
Well,
It doesn't just go away.
I can't speak to who's going to sue who and what the judge will say. So, as you know, I can't speak to that. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note that this letter has already gone to the province, and they've had some follow-up with people from the minister's staff, and it was received quite favorably. As they note in the letter, it has already been adopted in other jurisdictions, that approach. Again, for clarity's sake, it's asking to limit liability, not salt. People want to continue salting, they can do so, but they will not feel the need to do so just to avoid being sued.
Thank you. Anyone else? So
essentially it's
receiving or supporting? Support?
Yeah.
Councillor Botwell, as the seconder?
I think because as Councillor Rowley said, clear as mud. It's a shell game. And I don't like it.
You're gonna withdraw your name as the seconder?
Withdraw as the seconder, yeah. And then
Thank you.
course.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. So the motion reads that we're supporting a request from the Lower Trent Conservation Authority. It is moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Next piece of correspondence comes from the Brighton Rotary Club. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that Council receive the correspondence from the Brighton Rotary Club and that Council support the request from the Brighton Rotary Club for the waiving of fees associated with the rental and delivery of municipal tables and chairs for the Rotary Street Dance event scheduled for August 1st in downtown Brighton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion's carried. Brings us to FYI correspondence. It's moved by Councillor. The first comes from Brian Todd Memorial Community Fund. It's moved by Councillor McCausland, seconded by Councillor Botwell, that Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Brighton received the correspondence from the Brian Todd Memorial Community Fund celebrating 25 years and recognizing the awarding of a record number of grants to Brighton community groups. And the Council extends its appreciation for the fund's ongoing contributions to the community. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next item are updates from Northumberland County, moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Rowley. The Council receive the updates from Northumberland County, June 8th to June 19th, 2026. Is there any discussion? All in favor? There being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next is from the Ministry of Labour. It's moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The Council receive and support the correspondence from the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, regarding the expression of interest submitted on behalf of Northumberland County for the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program's Regional Immigration Initiative, and the Council support Northumberland County acting as the lead organization and designated representative for the Northumberland County Census Division in relation to the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program's Regional Immigration Initiative, And the council authorized Northumberland County to act on behalf of the municipality of Brighton for the purposes of the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program's Regional Immigration Initiative, including acting as the primary point of contact and coordinating any required information, correspondence, or related submissions, and that this resolution be forwarded to the Northumberland County and the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development as confirmation of the municipality of Brighton's support. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright.
I was just wondering if you knew any specifics on what skilled workers they're looking for through this, aside from doctors, because I know those are probably top of the list.
Yeah, I'm not sure doctors are. This is more skills development stuff. It's personal support workers are top of that list. Skilled trades people, electricians, plumbers, et cetera, and a lot of this is coming out of sort of eyeballing what might happen in Wesleyville and the need for significant levels of workforce. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. The next item is from J.L. Richards and Associates. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the Brighton Wastewater Treatment System Upgrades Progress Report number 5 from J.L. Richards and Associates for information purposes. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wright?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was very happy to see that a baseline schedule is currently under review. Do we have a schedule to see the schedule?
Director Lennon?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's no formal overall baseline schedule approved by the consultant at this point, but they have reviewed it, and the weekly planning aid documents are used for the weekly and monthly scheduling of the project, but no approved baseline yet.
As a follow-up?
Could we please see a schedule? I just think it's important if with a project of this magnitude, and I know it probably won't hit all the timelines, but just so that us as council have an idea, the targets that we're meeting on a month-to-month basis.
Director?
Through you, that is the intent, is to get the baseline approved by the consultant so that it can be shared with council.
Do we have a timeline for when the baseline schedule will be approved or come to council? Yeah, I'm going back to Councillor Wright's question.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, good question. I don't have that date. It's a process under review. I will connect with the consultant and try and push that forward quickly.
Thank you for that. We will have conversations in the background. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. Just to our closed session. Council chooses to pass a motion to proceed into closed session. I will take a 5-minute recess. Moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Councillor McCausland. The council resolve into closed session at 7:43 p.m. on June 22nd, 2026. The motion reads 2016, just so you know. Pursuant to the Ontario, that's why I was laughing. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act, RSO 2001 is amended subsection 239(2)(c), a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, purchase of land for the purpose of constructing a water booster station. Councillor Butwell is the mover. I have changed 2016 to 2026. I suspect you're okay with that.
I prefer 2016.
Yeah.
It was a good year.
I couldn't tell you what happened in 2016, to be quite frank.
You were on
Councillor
council.
I know it was, but I don't know what happened on June 22nd, 2016. Yeah, you're okay. Do not say that into a microphone. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? There being any opposed? That motion is carried. All right, it is 7:44 p.m. We'll reconvene the meeting at 7:50 p.m.